Hello, folks, kind, gentle people. So, I think at least for a moment, I'm going to be doing a few of these. Well, a day, because this is a deck that I'm really interested in learning. Um, like religion, mythology, spiritual systems, in a lot of ways, are very much my thing. Now, it's typically mythology. Excuse me. So that's why I haven't look, there's that Queen of Swords again. I keep seeing that Queen of Swords. Yesterday, it's like I opened up the book to the Queen of Swords. And then the day before, I saw her because I was like, one of the girls on the Three of Cups had a mask. It looked like the Queen of Swords. Now the Queen of Cups is there too. Typically, mythologies, Norse pantheon, Greco Roman pantheon, haven't made it full into the Egyptian pantheon. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much mythology. Now, this isn't all mythology, though, because there's Hinduism in here. But there's Greco-Roman, Norse, and Egyptian mythology, and then Hinduism. And um, I want to get into it. I like it. Even like Hinduism, I've wanted to get into. Not. I don't. I wouldn't say I've wanted to get into it. But I guess I am. I'm interested in a lot of stuff, and there aren't enough hours in the day. I'm learning the cards. I like what the book has to say, and I will also get into these because I have them. So why not, right? I need to find out. Oops, I think I messed up. I need to find out what that mixing bag is all about because that may be a better way to shuffle these. And so I'm gonna get a few cards and then I'm gonna read them. Maybe like one or two because I do like reading, but that's a lot of reading in this book. How does anyone shuffle these? Okay. Oh gosh. I guess I'm starting with these. We'll keep that one face down. So clouds, which is interesting because that is a Lenormand card that speaks to uncertainty, and wreath, which is a world energy. Oh, let me move my ginger ale out of the way. It's blackberry ginger ale. I've gotten into ginger ale lately, and it's like every other time I go to the store, there's a new flavor. First, it was lemonade and ginger ale. Then it was orangeade. Then they had the ginger ale bold. That's too bold for me. Then they had a cranberry. Now they have a blackberry, and I think there might have been another one. And then the store started carrying burners. So I'm like, I don't know if all the ginger ales and ginger sodas are like starting to flock to my experience, but I'm not complaining. I'm a fan. So clouds is temporary problems, and then wreath is sorrow over a loss, which is interesting. That's an energy of like getting bad news, but then finding out that you like dodged a bullet. That's like dodged a bullet type of energy. Like you really wanted something, but then something's gonna come, or you're gonna hear or discover something that's gonna be like, oh wow, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't there when that happened. A little bit of trust the process, trust in the plan. If it was for your highest good, and if it were your time, you would have gotten it. Type of energy. What did I say? Hold on. Oh, okay. So let's start with clouds because I feel like reading apparently. Clouds, temporary problems. Ooh, there we go. There we go. Black thunder clouds fill the sky, but the sun peeks out from behind one of the clouds. This symbol is a positive one, as it shows you that your problems are just temporary and the sun will soon be shining again. Excuse me. Now, yesterday I looked at the Sabian symbols for. Oh, I'm gonna link it in the description box. It's like a 3.5 hour long video, y'all. It's real long, but it started with a little bit of general stuff. Wanted to read myself, and so I did it. And then like I had to change ink color from yellow to dark blue. Um, and so the first bit of it, it's not time stamped, is a little bit more general because I think some cards came out, and then I went into the self read, and it was mostly about when I started. And I've talked about it a few times, so I don't think there's a lot of new information in there. But like my darkest night and what 2019 looked like for me, that prepared me for 2020. And when I say it prepared me for 2020, I guess it just gave me the resolve to not waver throughout the course of the year, and to also have an attitude of actually facing the things that were happening. Um, and some other stuff is in there. I looked at the Sabian symbols at one point. There was a little bit about astrology, not too much. I'll link it in the description box. It'll be at the top. Because I was like, oh, if anyone's curious, then I guess they could watch it. And I was like, kind of sort of hoping for like now going into the future, but it was for me, it was mostly the past. It was like October 2018 to now ish. There's a little bit about moving forward. I mean, the forward that I created. So, anyway, if you're curious, it's really long. Check it out. You don't have to watch it all in one setting. If you're like bored and you just want to hear a voice in the background, you can play it while you do other things. That's what I do sometimes. I'll do something that doesn't really require much brain, and I'll just play a video. The wreath is sorrow over a loss. A wreath of lilies and white and red roses hangs against the cloudy sky. Ooh. A purple ribbon adorns the wreath. This card signifies that you will suffer great sorrow over a loss. It could be the loss of a relative or a friend, or the loss of a business situation. It could also be a loss in a financial or legal matter. I think loss has been coming up lately. Excuse me, maybe folks dealing with loss. I mean, people are still, passing. That never stops, really. But like with the clouds, though, I don't think this will be like a devastating loss. And then here is the tiger doing something risky, taking a chance. I love the tiger. Tiger for me is strength card, like squared or to the third power. I don't want to say it's like strength card on steroids, but the tiger to me is like the furthest you can take strength. Kind of like how when I look at the peregrine falcon and the kestrel hawk, it's like the peregrine falcon is the fastest animal. It has a diving speed of really fast. And the hawk is also about speed, but the hawk teaches precision, and it teaches to strike at the right moment with the right amount of force. And it's like what the hawk sacrifices in speed, he gains in wisdom in some way, whereas the falcon just goes full force. And I view the tiger as the hawk and the lion as the falcon when it comes to strength. It's like the tiger for me is stronger, but that strength requires more grace. I do want to. I'm just curious when the year of the tiger. 2022? No. Okay. I'm curious when the years of the tigers are. 2022 is the year of the tiger. 2010 was the last one. 1998 is one, and then 86. So I guess 1926, 38, 50, 62, 74, 86, 98, 2010, and 2022 are tiger years. So next year is going to be the year of the tiger. So I guess if I take it that way, there may be some time before we really fully realized why it was that whatever we lost, like the reason why that happened. Again, I don't think this is necessarily like the death of a loved one or something like that, because the clouds are here, which makes it temporary. Doing something risky, taking a chance. A hand, which signifies the querist, fondles a tiger in an effort to become its friend. The tiger is of two minds. Even though it likes being fondled, it is still contemplating attacking the querist. The querist, who chooses this card, should beware. It denotes that you are either involved in something risky or are attempting taking a chance in some affair that could be risky. Oh, okay. So maybe this is just like, I don't know, you're getting like a stock or something. You're applying for something. You're trying to do something that involves a minimal amount of risk. Not a minimal amount of risk. Well, maybe you think it's a minimal amount of risk, but excuse me. Oh, where did that come from? That's so weird. It's like before it came out, I felt it like, is that my diaphragm? I don't know, move up like my throat and just, ugh. I feel like it left a little tingle in me. Okay, continuing. Um, maybe there's something that we're going, oh, Four Swords. What the Four Swords in this deck? With death? The Four of Swords is in death to me is making peace with the loss of something. And maybe it's temporary because after you make peace with that loss, something, I don't want to say better, but something will happen. There she is, the all gifted. I was like, wait, is that actually a card? I guess that's a deck specific card because I'm pretty sure there's a fool through the world. Oops. The Seven of Swords is behind this Four of Swords. And so this may be, you know how sometimes when you experience a loss or something, not necessarily a death again, but anytime you experience something and it doesn't affect you as much as maybe it should, and you're like, why isn't this like, why am I not more upset about this? Why am I not like torn up? Why am I okay? It's kind of sort of that energy. But let's see. I want to see what this all gifted is about. I know that's Pandora. And I did finally read the part on the back of the book about reading. What did it say? Immerse yourself in the secrets of the tarot through the mystery, religions, ancient cultures, and mythical practices of the world. Open Pandora's jeweled box and discover new innovative tarot images. So, the All Gifted. My name has been whispered throughout the ages as a byword for guile, for curiosity, and for weakness. Yet these tongues know not the true power of the secret gifts hidden within, taken up from the earth and granted as boons to humankind. They know not of the strength of my heart, nor that it was only through me that life could come into being. For I am all gifted and all giving, the great opener, the gateway through which all seekers must pass to become self-aware. I am the mother of hope and of despair, the bride of beginnings and the descendant of the gods. There is no mystery in this world except that which I give to you. Heed my words and let them take root in your heart, for then you will come to know that I am not only the first woman, but all of humankind. My origin is yours, my purpose is yours, my divine nature is yours. Be not afraid to give of yourself to the universe and others. It is in giving that you receive, in blessing that you are blessed. You will not be diminished by the act, but filled with all things, and thus you shall come to stand before me as my child, all gifted and all blessed. So, the All Gifted is an additional optional card for use with Tarot Apocalypsis. It is inspired in part by the Lenormand tradition, in which there are two cards, the man and the woman, that may signify the reader or querent in a reading. But it can also be used with further meanings to represent the self on many levels. The card portrays Pandora, whose name means all gifted and all giving. Oh, Pan. And I guess Dora is gifted or giving. And gifts are a significant theme in her story. Hesiod tells us that as a punishment for Prometheus' theft from the gods and his giving it to humans, Zeus commanded the smith god Hephaestus to fashion a maiden from clay and give her a voice and strength. Athena taught her needlework and weaving. Aphrodite gave her grace and longing. Hermes gave her cunning and the graces. Peitho and the Horai clothed her in fine jewels and garlands of flowers. Hesiod suggests that the reason for her name is that she received a gift from all gods of Olympus. Okay, that's what I'm going to end that way. That's interesting. So that's what this is. The tiger, the tiger clouds and the wreath, it's a blessing in disguise. But it's one that we'll only really see when we embrace the natural cycles of giving and losing. When we accept the loss of whatever. That's when we find the hidden blessing. Ace of Pentacles. Okay. Who they? Alright. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oh. Okay. Oh, there we go. Alright. Thank you. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Wands, which is interesting. Eight of Wands is all about being the arrow. I'll read it, but it came out for me yesterday in that video I'm talking about. Four of Swords came back out, and then we got a mystery card. Love that. I'm a fan. There's a Four of Wands, Ten of Wands, Nine of Wands, Eight of Wands. Behind the Eight of Wands is the Five of Cups. Why does that Five of Cups keep making an appearance? I don't know. We'll see. Eight of Wands. What greater joy is there than to soar above all, riding the winds of ambition above and beyond the mountains of expectation? Many cry out to those who take to flight, warning them against the soaring, predicting a great fall. Some watch in envy at the flight they dare not make. A very few precious souls, warriors and hunters all, resolve to scale those great heights, trailblazing a new path into the horizon. If you walk my burning path, I will show you how to train your sights and set the course of your greatest desires. Where the sun rises, you will rise higher. Where the falcon flies, you will fly faster. Where the lion roars, your war cry will drown it out. You may ignite with the joy of it, with passion and intent, and like the flaming arrow, your soaring will further fuel the source of your desire. You will fly straight and true to your goal, but remember that the beginning requires an explosive burst of focus and will, energy and passion. Without this, your path will be cursed by the earth, slow and steady, stable and dependable, yet utterly uninventive. We do not advance through reinvention. Dare to know, dare to set your sights upon the heights, dare to become a warrior of the flaming arrow and a hunter with the falcon's speed. Set aflame the arrows of your desire and release them to flight into the very heavens. The Eight of Wands is an explosive unity of the elements of fire and air. As air feeds fire, giving it the oxygen it needs to sustain itself and grow, so the mental focus and agility of air symbolically feeds and increases the passion, ambition, will, and intent of the Suit of Wands. This fiery suit has been a roller coaster ride so far, beginning with the first spark and growing into a great desire, becoming manifest and finding its way to conflict, discovering greatness and the need to protect it, and now the energy that was bogged down and struggling to sustain itself reaches a crescendo and can burst forth with all its might. Perhaps it is the struggle of the Seven of Wands being released that causes the Eight of Wands to fly so fast and free. Oh, look, here's some air. Oh, what if it's like the Four of Swords and the Four of Wands gives us this Eight of Wands? That would be cool, right? But so it's bringing in a clarity of the mind. What does alacrity mean? Because the word alacrity just popped into my mind. Hey Siri, define alacrity.
Alacrity means brisk and cheerful readiness.
A brisk and chill, a brisk and chill. Why can I not speak? I haven't been able to speak for like a week. Brisk and cheerful readiness. I like that. But I guess again, like that's what happens when the mind. There's like a release of the Eight of Swords as well. So there's a release of whatever, and we saw the Seven of Wands. I've seen it like twice. I it came out in the general portion, I think, of the video that I'm going to be doing. But in the Seven of Wands, there was a struggle, right? Moses took the staff, performed the miracle, and then the court magicians came and used their magic to replicate it. But the miracle swallowed the magic. So, as powerful as we are, the creator, source, the universe, the element of life itself, that is the manifestation of the will of spirit, is more capable and more powerful, always. And that's why, with that loss, with the clouds, the reef, and the tiger, even if there's like seemingly no risk, even if something is seemingly a sure thing, it can still fall apart. So it's like it doesn't matter really how powerful you are or how smart you are or cunning you are or how great you think you are. Spirit, the world, life, the universe, it's like they control the board, right? It's like you're playing a game, but someone can just come and unplug it at any time or turn it off before you even get a chance to save it. And if you save it, it can wipe your save file. So you still got to start all over. Now, I think the influence of the Eight of Swords being resolved and resolving that Seven of Wands is when we work in cooperation and in conjunction with that energy. When we have that alacrity, that brisk and cheerful readiness to work with spirit, to see our own passions made manifest, passions that align with whatever they need to, passions that align with that supportive energy, like the speed at which things can go and how fast and free we can be. And that's why I guess the Four of Swords came out with the Death card and also with that all giving. that peace that we find, that little bit of the fire that was a piece of that Mithrian sun, or Mithrasian, the Mithrasian sun, the truth beyond the truth, the sun beyond the sun, that hypercosmic sun instead of, like, the sun in our solar system. Oh, look at this. Sorry. Four swords. And then there's the tame wolf here. I've read this one before, but we'll read it again. The city of Amarna, or Amarna, named Akhetaten, horizon of the Aten, was built swiftly by Akhenaten, so that'd be Akhetaten and Akhenaten at the beginning of his reign. I know this Akhenaten, right? I believe I've heard it pronounced Akhenaten. Still in the suit of wands. Oh, that was the six of wands. Okay. Here's some cups. I think swords come after the. Yep, four swords right there. Nice. The creative mind knows no end of trials and sorrows. Within its halls there are infinite doors, and not even the keenest mind can walk them all. Yet you, thinker, try. You let yourself fall through the mansion of your mind, often not knowing which way you are being led, tempted by this, coaxed by that, pulled in one direction and then another. All this is the necessary journey of those who perceive and express ideas. But you have come now unto my road, and it is dark and silent. No creatures of the imagination and phantasms of duty shall haunt you, nor shall the wildness of your mind send you howling through the forest, hunter and hunted at once. My blessing is that of peace, of the dark waiting room in which all things must gestate. My mystery is that of the greatest possibilities arising from the quietest mind. Stop for a moment and be still. Listen rather than think. It is here, in the indefinable moment of absolute blankness, that your mind can be free. And it is here that the very heartbeat and lifeblood of the source of your ideas can be touched, heard, and felt. It nourishes and renews you, sustains you, and gives form to your ideas as a mother gives form to her child. Mine is the womb of mystery from which all possibilities grow. Mine is the mantle of darkness beneath which you might gestate your most precious of thoughts. That it's giving me like corridor to the universal mind type of energy, which is, I would say it's crazy, but that's what this is. Because it's like life is spirit made manifest. And the universal mind is like the originator of spirit. And so through that corridor that leads to the piece of universal mind that, we can interact with and not, I guess, overload. um, that's like, it's like going up the chain. Now it's interesting because I remember whenever there's a reading on here. I might be pick a stack or pick a pile or whatever. So like the stack because I like to be different. I'm not gonna do pick a pile. I'll do select a stack because I'm hashtag unique. I'm an Aquarius sun in Vedic, and my Saturn is in Aquarius, and it's my guiding planet. So anyway, I got a lot of Saturn in me. Two Capricorn placements, a Capricorn midheaven, and my Saturn is in Aquarius. But I also have two Taurian placements and a Jupiter placement in Libra. My Saturn is in Aquarius, my Jupiter is in Libra. That's a trine. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, um, it was in that Thanatos came out, and there was this energy of us being like, to the element to life or spirit or whatever. Like I want to speak to the manager, blah 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 blah. It was this energy of like us getting over for a long time. And you know how like you go to a store or you go to a place of business and there's something that you do infrequently, like, people forget things sometimes or blah 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 whatever. But it only takes one person to take advantage of a situation to get new policies instated and to get things to change. It's like all of a sudden it's like maybe you forget whatever and you go and you tell one of the employees like, hey, I forgot the thing, can I XYZ? And they're like, oh, unfortunately we don't do that anymore. And you're like, what? But like it's happened every other time. And they're like, yeah, well, there was a change in policy, it came from above. And but in that it was like we in some way were the person that were taking advantage of an openness, taking advantage of a lack of a policy, taking advantage because we could. And then the policy changes. And then we come back, and they got a picture of you on the back wall. Like, beware of this person because this is something that they do all the time. And even when they train people, they're like, yeah, you might see this person because it happens like 3 times a day, girl. And they'd be like, what? No, it's like one of those things that they think is an urban legend until you come into the store and they're like, oh my gosh, they're here, they're here. And then you do it, and then their minds are like, wow, so they really do this. That's crazy. I thought they were just like pulling my leg a little bit. But anyway, you don't know what's up because you continue to get away with it, and that's how humans are. You get away, you take advantage. You don't stop. And so you ask to speak to the manager, and it's like the CEO of the company comes out as the manager because you don't know who the manager is and who the manager isn't. And then you're talking, and then the person's like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. And you're like, well, I want to talk to your supervisor, or I want to talk to the person above you. And then the person's like, I'm the CEO of this company. And if you are so curious or interested as to why policy sudden change, it's because of you taking advantage of the store, of the whatever. So also congratulations because you ruined this for everybody. And that was the energy with Thanatos because Thanatos is like the personification of death itself, rather than it being like Hades or Pluto or somebody like a god of death. Like that's different than the materialization of the energy of death. Now, this isn't necessarily that, but through the corridor of that universal mind, it's like it puts us in contact or connection with a more primordial, precursorial, is precursorial a word? Energy that precedes all things. And that's why when we start to work in conjunction with that, when we align ourselves to the flow of what's already happening, it makes things happen a lot easier. It's like paddling downstream instead of trying to paddle upstream. You don't necessarily have to paddle at that point, but if you do, maybe you go a little bit faster. You know what I mean? And if you paddle upstream, you would lose against the stream at this point. Maybe it's like we were paddling upstream and it was fine, but the closer you get to the source, and let's say the source is a waterfall, but it's a waterfall and then like the river after the waterfall. So even if you paddled all the way up to the source, you're not going to paddle the canoe, the boat, the whatever up a waterfall. That's not going to happen. But the closer to the source, the more force there is pushing the water down whatever stream you're on. And so when you get so close, it gets even harder because the water is moving with greater force. Now, when you're at the end or when you're near the outlet, it's like the water isn't moving with as much force that far away from the source. So eventually, like we're reaching the point where we can't paddle upstream anymore anyway. But, we'll try because we're humans. And what's that thing? It's like Why did the first person climb Mount Everest? Because they can, or something like that. It's like because we can. So let's start here. Oh, I already read this. I'll read it again, I guess. The woman is a writer, a skald. Her role is to keep histories, tell stories, and perpetuate sagas. It is her words, both spoken and written, that inspire others to greatness and express the important values by which her people live. Her mind must always be full of the weight of this great responsibility, of tales and facts, history and names, new ways of telling a tale, and methods of holding an audience. The wolf that sleeps by her side represents this whirlwind of thoughts, this wild mind made calm and tranquil. The darkness of the forest represents the subconscious and the quiet mind into which the woman is able to sink. It is the womb like and peaceful, yet teeming with life, just as the quiet mind is teeming with possibility awaiting birth. We are reminded that it is often in this kind of an environment, dark and quiet, that our own minds become relaxed and reflective. In our modern world, it can be difficult to seclude ourselves, surround ourselves with the natural world, and find a place that is truly quiet. Instead, we naturally surround ourselves with a constant influx of new information and attention grabbing technology that, while useful, also distracts and can burden the busy mind. This shrine to the goddess Freya, a recreation of a 6th century bronze image from Sweden that has been set up against a tree, shows that in her solitude and meditation, the woman is devoted to and protected by this goddess. As the Four of Swords is an inherently fertile card, offering the soft, dark earth in which the seeds of ideas can grow and from which fully grown ideas can be harvested, Freya offers her blessing of growth and power. This dark, silent forest can be seen as her womb, in which her devotee rests. Here, in the magical moment of contemplation, when the mind stops, the greatest of ideas spring forth, and the mind is truly enriched. Now, our mystery card is. Oh, it's not the Four of Wands. It's the Ace of Cups. So we would have gone to the element of fire. We're like, wait. The element of fire. We've gone to the element of water. There's some dolphins up here. There's a butterfly. It's like blue and green. No, these are like waves, but with whatever these beads are on the left side, it looks like a tentacle a little bit. And there's a little bit of a Kraken energy, and that's what it feels like. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Like over there, like the ones that overlap with the blue, it looks a little bit like suckers, right? And it looks like there's blood in this cup, which is a little disconcerting, but it also reminds me of who was the person? There was a person in the Bible. It was a woman who was sick, and she was like, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, right? And so Jesus was doing his thing, and she made it to him, touched the hem of his garment, and was cured, was healed. It feels like a purification of the blood, which is dialysis, right? Girl, hey Siri, what is dialysis?
In medicine, dialysis is the process of removing excess water, solutes, and toxins from the blood in people whose kidneys can no longer perform these functions naturally.
Okay, yeah. So it is dialysis. I was like, I'm pretty sure he knew that. Girl, we had to model like oxygen diffusion through capillaries, and then they equated to blood vessels. I talked yesterday about plaque building up. I think it was in the video on this channel. Because when I was talking about circuits, like old circuits and new circuits, and the old circuits are the plaque is being building up, and so they're not as effective anymore. Arteries, not arteries, but they're clogging. Um, there's a dialysis energy, and the kidneys should naturally be able to do that. But it's like the kidney on the collective human body is failing or has failed. And so spirit is doing that, hooking us up to the dialysis machine, the dialyzer. But the blood is water. Well, they do say that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. But it takes me back to when I was talking about frozen water melting and how if there's a contaminant in water that we can't remove, what we can do is add more water to decrease the concentration of whatever that contaminant is. And if we can add enough water, then it will effectively be as if the contaminant is non existent. Concentration, both in terms of um, the amount of a certain substance per a certain volume of not that substance, and concentration in terms of focus. Because in with an arrow, you have to be focused, but all of that focus is up front. After you release the arrow, like the world, gravity, acceleration, trajectory, like the arrow, like you don't have to do anything. Everything with that arrow is done up front. And the readying of the arrow, the pulling back, I guess the knocking it. First you knock it, right? And then you ready it and then you launch it. I don't know much about archery, but we had an archery unit in PE in high school. I was not great at it. But it's like all of that is done up front. Once you release the arrow, nothing else needs to be done. And if the proper preparation was done, it'll find its target. And I think sometimes with the Four Swords, when it came out with the All Giving and Death, or between the All Giving and Death, there's a need to release the arrow once we've loosed it. Because you can't influence the arrow after it's already in the air. Only the elements can do that. And, you know, when you're cooperating with spirit, even if your target moves, even if your arrow needs to take a sharp turn, even if there's that one card in the Diceology, it's an arrow that swims through the air or an arrow that swims through the sky, spirit can guide the winds and can influence the arrow to make sure that it goes wherever it needs to go. We have to do all of the upfront stuff: knocking, readying, releasing. And with this card, see, it's this interesting energy because there are certain things that spirit can't do. Like spirit can't get you to knock, ready, and release the arrow. You have to do that. Now, spirit can bring you people or messages or circumstances and situations that will put you in a position to do all of that, but it can't do that for you, right? Because you have free will and free choice on this planet. And so, um, it's like what was done, though, I don't know in what way that would have been done. Maybe that's this energy. Maybe that's the clouds. Maybe it was the clouds. A trick of the clouds. Because there's this energy of like people releasing arrows way off the mark. But spirit, because again, once the arrow is released, then spirit can take full control of it through the elements and other things. It's like spirit is ensuring that these hit their mark. And so that's the energy of the blessing in disguise. That's the energy of the, like, if it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right time. Or if it wasn't the right place or position or person, it wasn't the right place, position, or person. What we can do is to continuously knock ready, fire, knock ready, fire, knock ready, fire arrows, trying to hit the target. And maybe it'll reach the point where spirit's like, you know what, take it. Because your will, your choice, your decisions, your actions are honored. And if we choose not to listen or observe whatever correction that is trying to make itself apparent to us, then we may end up in a situation where we later find out why it was so difficult initiating it in the first place. It's like, oh, this is why it failed every time. I feel like spirit was trying to tell me not to go through with this or not to do this or not to accept this. And here I am, I did it anyway, and it's not great. Now, the opposite could also be true where we don't go for something. But if you don't knock any arrows, like I don't know if spirit is necessarily lifting arrows out of people's quivers and firing them itself. If it is, then it is. It's possible. But it's like if you don't fire anything, then what is there, like what arrow is there in the air for spirit to take over and to guide? And that's why sometimes, like when we don't know what to do at all, we just got to do something. And even if it isn't necessarily the right thing, or even if that thing isn't going to be like, if it doesn't align with the end result, we can be redirected, and we have to be open to being redirected too. And that was a while ago when I talked about, I had the zigzag, the dots, and it was like sometimes spirit gives us these things to aim for, but it's just to get us in the right direction. And then we redirect. And instead of this jagged zigzag, if we're open and willing to be redirected, it smooths it out and we navigate more smoothly through that. And it takes less time and energy than if we hit every single point along the path. If we do this and then go down and up and down, it's like smoothing out the line, reducing the noise, strengthening the signal. Okay, Ace of Cups. Let's get into it. So, it is a falsehood disguised in fact that man must enter into the earth at the end of life. In truth, it is in the beginning that you must take the road into the depths and their darkness, there to be drowned in the mysteries. For you are not born just once. You have the blessing to be twice born, if you desire it. First from the womb of woman, and second from the womb of initiation. For the latter, the pathway of the soul, you must drink of that veiled cup of ecstasy and bliss, abandon in softness, and not carry a light into the darkness. There will be revealed to you a vision, received at the pinnacle of initiation, through heavily lidded eyes, when you are drunk on the heady fumes of divine love. I am that madness and that bliss, that fear and that love. I am the revelation of the sacred, and in the darkness of the earth and the darkness of your soul, I will illuminate all. From this revealed light of the universe is born your soul. striving upwards as the divine light strives ever downwards to touch you. I am the mystery hidden in plain sight. I am everywhere and in all things, even the most ignoble. I am love, and where I am, oh boy, I am love in all its forms, and love at its highest, at its most nascent and primal. I am the love that cannot be contained, that flows like the rushing waterfall out of you and into the world. I am your soul, and this is the truth. Your soul and love are one and the same. And when you give your love to another, you give to them also your soul, opening yourself to them. Love is always reciprocal, and although you give your soul in its process, it is from this that you are filled with soul. The more you love, the more soul you are filled with. The greater your inner treasures, the deeper your revelations. You become a vast ocean of peace. These mysteries will endure until the end of time, for they are naught but love, and man will always seek love and create it. The cup that holds that secret drink may be veiled and hidden, but seek it truly, and you will find it close to hand. Ew, ew, excuse me. Oh, I gotta clear my throat. What's up with my throat? Oh, it's so difficult being a human sometimes. Like, why do we breathe and eat and drink in the same hole? And like, I salivate a lot sometimes. Y'all ever like choke on spit? I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. This gives me, it reminds me of the Seven of Cups. And I think I talked about it on this channel lately, I think. In the SKT, where, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. In the Seven of Cups, in the SKT, every cup is not a great choice because they're all linked to one of the seven deadly sins. But there was this feeling that within one of those cups lies the ace or whatever we're trying to find. But it's like not like a liquid inside that cup because it's like the outer shell of the cup must be broken. If we drink it as is, it would be poison or poisonous. And maybe that takes us back into the dilution with that Four of Swords energy of purifying those waters. So I guess one of the seven cups needs to be purified, and then it becomes what we wish for it to be. Almost that energy here. As the aces are the raw power and unified embodiments of their suits, the Ace of Cups is all the powers of the element of water, and the suit of cups in their purest form. Like its sibling aces, this card is closest in nature to the source of its element. Like the water that it embodies, the Ace of Cups flows between the gaps of other cards in a reading, filling them with love, beauty, happiness, emotion, and mystery. It also shows us a key moment in life, that of theophany, revelation of the gods, like an epiphany, but a theophany. Theo, I know, is related to gods, like theocracy, theologian, or belief, theory. Is it belief or is it gods? What am I thinking of? Anyway, sorry. During initiation, I'll read that one again. It also shows us a key moment in life, that of theophany, revelation of the gods during initiation. In many traditions, the cup or grail is a symbol of holy mystery, and here it is unveiled deep within the initiatory cave. It is also an experience of spiritual ecstasy and bliss, of being filled with divine love and overwhelmed by realization of mystery. As our suit of cups is found in the ancient Mediterranean, the cup is the vessel that held the kykeon or the kikion, I don't know, the sacred drink of the Eleusinian mysteries, given to new initiates before they underwent their first rites. There is some suggestion that this drink had hallucinogenic properties, and we know that it was drunk after a fast, so the kykeon was likely to either aid or directly induce the states of ecstasy that the initiate would achieve during the initiation rites. Ayahuasca type energies are plant medicine energies. In most mystery religions of the ancient Mediterranean world, the sacred drama culminated in the unveiling or revealing of an image, icon, or item that conveyed a deep mystery of the initiation or the teachings of the mysteries. In the Roman cult of Mithras, an image of the Tauroctony was pivoted round to face its audience within the dark Mithrium. In the rites of Ulysses, Ulysses. Is it Ulysses? Eleusis? An ear of corn was revealed. See High Priestess. And then Mithras was the sun. It was through these sacred images that life changing experiences were instigated and mysteries conveyed. It is the ecstatic religions and spiritual experience inspired by revelation that the Ace of Cups represents divine madness, which manifests in so many traditions in so many different ways. When the experience of the Spirit overwhelms, people speak in tongues, enter trance states, experience visions, hear voices, and more. The great mystics of the ages have written of their ecstasies and the mysteries that have been revealed to them. However, just as the sacred images revealed to initiates at Eleusis, Eleusis, yeah, Eleusis. That sounds better. Like, cause that LEU, that's like leukocytes, like white blood cells, right? At Eleusis would not have such a profound impact on non-initiates. I'll read that again. However, just as the sacred images revealed to initiates at Eleusis would not have such a profound impact on non-initiates, often the writings of spiritual ecstasy mean little to those who have not experienced it. The Ace of Cups is also found in the realm of the subconscious and unconscious, in our inner world that is filled with our dreams, imaginings, fantasies, hopes, and feelings. This inner world is complex and deep, teeming with life like the ocean. And while we may be able to navigate its waters, others may find the task more difficult. This is why other people will always retain some mystery about them, even those we know best and love most. It is this inner landscape and imaginal world that gives us the capacity to experience the sacred, to process life events, and feel emotions. It is also this part of ourselves that we feed when we undergo any form of initiation, and therefore the part of the self from which we are reborn, that part which perceives mystery into which mystery is revealed. This was all of that is one paragraph. Both of those pages is one paragraph. Like I read these paragraph by paragraph. Sometimes I'll skip around. So even if I get the same card, I guess I could read, or yeah, I could read different paragraphs. Like this one, like you see how many talking about grief. See how many different paragraphs there are? That one was all one paragraph. What card is this? Grief in the Greek and Roman worlds was regulated, at least in its public performance. Funerary rites were surrounded by a series of traditions and customs over a period of time. Ritual lament for the dead was mainly the domain of women, with archaeological evidence depicting scenes of women giving funeral laments. The purpose of the funeral lament and the accompanying rite was to honor and appease the dead, and to give expression to a wide range of conflicting emotions. It seeks to mend the fabric which had been torn by loss, and to reconcile those close to the dead to their loss. Thus, grief can be seen as a potentially positive force, although in the Five of Cups it is become destructive, consuming its performer rather than allowing release and acceptance. That laws in Greece, hold up, wait, yeah. That laws in Greece from the 6th century BCE onwards restricted and regulated public funerary laments suggests that such grief, overly performed and raw, brought chaos to peaceful society. Death was seen as polluting, so to spend too long dwelling on it beyond the proper funerary customs would have propagated this pollution. And the Five of Cups is behind the Eight of Wands. I just pulled that as an example. There she is, if you forgot. And it mentioned grief, and we had the reef. So I was like, oh. So I ended up reading the Five of Cups anyway. Ooh, open into the Nine of Pentacles now, though. Hey. And what's all that mean? This, I'm getting a feeling here that it's for us to reach a similar state, but sober, without the influence of an outside chemical or tincture or medicine. Because it's like in that space of divine madness, the message is lost. It's like it gets goodness, it gets mistranslated somehow. I'm about to get this bowl down here real quick. I showed one of my friends the singing bowl, and she was like, "Oh, it sounds like you." I said, "I was like, does it really?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay. Does this sound like me?" I guess it's not a deep like boom. I mean, I wouldn't mind a deep bell. That sounds like me. Oh, she was like doing it inside. Yeah, that don't work. I could feel it vibrating in my ear. She's singing today. She's singing today. Last time I tried to use her, she was struggling. She was like, I don't want no part of this. Put me down, put me back. All y'all get is the sharp. That's it. That's what it feels like, though. It's to form these connections and these pacts without that intermediary substance or without that intermediary presence or that intermediary force. Now, this is like, I love this deck. I love these like really deep messages. But yeah, that's what I'm getting what this is. It's a removal of the performance. It's a removal of that right. And there are a lot of things that are customary to the those cultures. I'm not telling anybody to stop doing anything that they're doing, and I don't think anyone would necessarily listen to me anyway. But if you do listen to me, I ain't necessarily telling you to stop doing what you're doing. But it's almost like imagine being someone older and having a lot of family, but no one, or you don't even have to be older. But imagine you're older and you have a lot of family, but no one comes to visit you except for when they do. But when they do, it's like they need something. Or it's like they tell you that they'll call or that they'll visit again, but it doesn't happen. And it's almost like if we could find substance free ways of reaching that same point, then it becomes this conversation, this communion that we're capable of having instantly and always. Instead of going through this protocol or this right or that right or this intermediary person or that intermediary person. It's almost like, sometimes I would like to just see you and to just sit with you and talk to you rather than having someone else in the room or a clock counting down the minutes that we can spend together or the seconds. And again, as we move forward energetically, as things continue to shift, I think it's going to be easier to do some of these things without needing those other things to facilitate it. Because it's like it's the same impact as the Ace of Cups, but it comes through with the Four of Swords clarity of mind. And the way at which the Ace of Cups suggests reaching that point, we wouldn't have the same clarity. I'm going to pull one of the Magical Dimensions Oracle cards and activators because it mentioned the word contemplation, and contemplation was a card I was getting a few times, and it got a little Buddha on it. It ain't a little Buddha, but it got Buddha on it, and I feel like it. So now we're going to come over here to the Magical Dimensions Oracle cards and activators by Lightstone. Oh, look! It's at the top of the deck! Contemplation! Hey! That's the Buddha. And that would be a little more Aquarian. Now, I mean, and I've talked about it before. When I first started my spiritual journey, ayahuasca was one of the things that I first came across. Ayahuasca and plant medicine. Documentaries, and I watched them. And it's not to discredit what it does. But for me personally, it was like, I don't want to have to depend and rely on something outside of myself to reach that level of connection. Partially because I also know that I don't really have a lot of addictions, but I feel like I have an addictive personality, if that makes any sense. I feel like if I'm not careful, I could use something to escapist tendencies. I have a lot of escapist tendencies, or had a lot. And this was at the beginning of my journey. So I had a lot of escapist tendencies, and so I didn't want to use something else as the escape from the mundane day to day world. Exiled. I saw that card at the bottom and I didn't want to take it. But it came out. And bottom of the deck is Wisdom. 14 and 44. 1444. What is that? That sounds like a thing. And so that's why I took the approach that I took and trying to. It's like I'm digging my own spiritual well in my backyard. So I don't have to go to the store or go to someone else's yard to get water. And again, it's like nothing against that. And I understand that it has outside of Western use, like it already had cultural like impacts, and like those customs, cultures, and communities had already integrated that. But when spiritualized, when the commodification of it comes into being, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything because it's almost that energy of like, for some people, for some cultures, they take an interest in that culture as a sign of like, they take pride in that. that other people are interested in that culture. And for others, it can be more damaging. And I think primarily the difference is in the overall sort of situation and circumstance. Like I know Queen Cup is she's gotten into frankincense and myrrh, and she's incorporated that into her work, and she's talked about ethical sourcing of it, and how for so many years there were these places that it was like it was being harvested in quantities that were not sustainable, and the places from which it was being harvested saw none of the wealth that it generated on the back end. So on the back end, people making bank, 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 but the place in which they get it, the living conditions could still be to the point where people are struggling to even survive. And it's like, how do we take resources out of places like that to profit off of it ourselves and to give nothing back? And for me, when I look at spirituality, like those are things that we have to be conscious and aware of, things of that nature. And even when it comes to sage, like how sage is the consumption of sage is just like not sustainable. How there were protected areas where sage could only be harvested by mostly tribal people who were licensed to harvest it, but they were finding so much stolen sage from those lands. And it is kind of sort of this energy of like, since Europeans have come to America, and since Europeans have come to other parts of the world as well, or since outsiders have come to rest or call whatever place they're dwelling, mostly Europeans, but there are some non Europeans. But specifically here in America, it's like there were things that we promised that we took away. And it's like we continue to take and take and take until there was almost nothing left for them. And then even the things that they have now, we still take. I don't know if there are any agreements that we've actually honored. And when coronavirus hit, when COVID-19 started to blow up, that was a population of the country that saw very, very, very little aid. And we claim right to this land and what comes of it. But we don't even honor those who have come before. And in my mind, it's just a little bit of a, it's interesting that we would get so close to source or claim that we are or try to, while at the same time neglecting and refusing to acknowledge the very people from which we get a lot of our tools or a lot of our herbs or whatever. And it's like a non compatible energy. And I don't think everyone is necessarily aware. And I also don't think that a lot of people too much care. Because it's like, it's mine. I bought it. I paid for it. You know, I paid like the money that I paid for this is legit. So I have ownership of this now. It is mine. But anyway, all of that aside, that's just interesting to me how we can claim so much love and light but be so insatiably greedy and lack so much heart and conscientiousness when it comes to things like that. And it's like you can be vegan and like animal cruelty free, this and that, but when it comes to the actual people, then like where is that same consideration or that same care or that same worry? And there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I like animals more than people. And that's fine. I don't know. It confuses me a little. It blows my mind, but a lot of things that people do. So I've just learned to live with it. I've learned to accept it. That that's how people are or can be. Maybe that'll change too. But anyway, this for me is about getting that more. It's like reestablishing that natural connection that is enhanced by those substances. But and like maybe there will always be things that you can do on them that you can't do off of them, or things that you can see because it alters the way in which we perceive things. So it's gonna come through in a different way. But I think for some at least, it is to more naturally, consciously, in an unaltered state of mind. It's like when you approach those with an unaltered state of mind, it remagnetizes, realigns, reconfigures the brain and all connections. It's the Ace of Cups. It flows in between everything instead of it just like happening in that moment. It's like I'm trying to think of a metaphor for it, but I can't. I can't think of one. It's like if you, it's like becoming purple rather than just using a purple light, right? Like let's say that you want an object to appear purple. And so what you do is you get your white light and you put a piece of purple glass over it so that the what it projects is a purple light. Now, as long as that thing is within that purple light, it would appear as purple. And it's like, okay, well, why don't we just like dye it purple or adorn it with purple things to actually make it purple rather than it being purple within this certain set of special conditions. In this special environment, it is now purple when we want it to be purple. So it's like, well, why don't you just make it purple? Then you don't have to worry about it like being, oh, that's my bad side, or like that's the non-purple side. You got to get the purple side. I don't know. Exiled is illusion of separation, disconnect, and isolation. And it's funny that this came out because that's what this energy was feeling like. And it's almost like seeking certain routes reinforces that illusion of separation, right? It's like getting a purple light instead of just making it purple. What it does is, are using a purple filter instead of making it purple. Like you see it as purple, but at the same time, it like also reinforces the fact that it's not purple because you have to do that to make it so. If that makes any sense. Exiled resonates to the illusion of isolation and separation. All souls are innately endowed with a quest for both self and interconnection. However, clouds of illusion can sway the self into believing in universal separation, thus initiating states of segregation and disconnection. Where limited beliefs arise from past or present dimensional timescapes and existing feelings of being exiled or outcast prevail, it is this encouraging ray that swiftly rescues and reminds the soul of its unison with all life forms and spiritual consciousness. You are not an outsider, and it's now time to engage into life and connect with others. Allow yourself to feel loved. It may appear that doors are locked, but that is not the case. Review your thoughts and allow the magic of life to help you. Acknowledge the opportunities that are right in front of you. Blue fluorite and garnet are the crystals, and cinnamon is the companion oil. Wisdom, number 44, is at the bottom of the deck. I gotta go to the bathroom. Psychic intuition and truth. This image is connected with the indigo white color ring. Wisdom resonates to that of divine psychic perception. It is attuned to the vibration of courage and heavenly support for speaking one's truth. Exalted and robust, this intense ray beckons the soul toward developing valuable alliances with the higher soul star and spiritual guides. It quells fears and doubts, releases anxieties from the entire trichromatic system, and enhances psychic and intuitive abilities. The wisdom you seek is within you. Unite with your powerful highest self, the purest frequency of you, and know thyself. You have innate gifts of psychic intuition, but you must first cultivate and exercise your mastery. Your higher self contains the key to unlocking your gifts. It's full steam ahead, so don't hold yourself back. Remember who you are, a powerful being of light with all the answers within you. So know that you can see the truth in all situations. Apatite and blue goldstone are the crystals here, with mint being the essential oil. And I do want to close it out. Actually, I won't. I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick. Oh, I can pause this. Hey, that's why I love recording. BRB. All right, I'm back. And my train of thought is kind of lost, but that's fine. So I guess I'll move into final messages now. These are always so long. We'll do this one first. Oh, there's oneness. Oneness and exiles. Again, and it's like, I don't know, it's like that connection is already within us. It just requires a quieted mind to anchor it, to maintain. I mean, it requires a lot of things. It probably ain't just the mind, right? You probably got to get your chakras right or something. And I ain't talking about listening to some chakra alignment binaural beats on YouTube for like 3 hours as you sleep. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like it doesn't really do anything to anchor that connection or to establish it outside of those moments. And when it comes to aligning the chakras, more often than not, there's temperance again. Temperance with the all gifted. Ooh, ooh. When it comes to doing that, it's like that's a system that naturally aligns itself. It naturally purifies itself. And so if that function isn't happening, there's a reason why. So when we address the reasons, then it's like it goes back to regulating itself. And maybe every now and then you gotta like jumpstart it, but if the blockages aren't addressed, or the reasons behind the blockages, if the causes aren't addressed, then it'll just continue to be blocked. The all gifted. Okay, bottom of the deck is death, and it also came out with the Queen of Wands. Oh, I love that because the Queen of Wands is the magical one. She came out in reverse yesterday. Hathor is upright today. Hathor is upright with the all gifted. Love it. This is what remained in the box. And well, I was talking about cleansing the chakras, right? So I think that's about putting the things back in the box that need to be, that were released. But we keep the good ones out. Hope was the thing that was also released after the seven deadly sins or whatever. But so we put the seven back, we keep the light out, and we establish a new dynamic between lesser light and greater light, rather than between the presence of light and the absence of light. Maybe, maybe not. I don't want to say that. It's hard to imagine a society in which that's possible because of what our history is. And so it's hard to say for sure, but it does feel like it's not necessarily light and dark. It's like lesser light and greater light. It's like a stratum, right? It's like, let's say that everyone on Earth made enough money to survive. And so it's no longer like those who are so poor that they can't even survive, and those who are so extravagantly rich that they got like mansions all over the place and yachts and private jets and stuff. But it's like everyone's living, but still some live to that level of extravagance. But at worst, people are still like comfortable. And so it maintains that dualistic nature, that there are multiple experiences, but what it does is it elevates it. And that's the thing I was talking about when I was talking about how like shadows or negative energy can ride certain people who claim certain, shadows and negative energies can ride those who would ascend or better themselves spiritually or through whatever ways when they don't address it. Because what it does is it does this. Right, here's the shadow. Here's you. Yeah, you'll say you're here, right? There you go. And what it does, as you rise, it increases the gap in that disparity. And so it's like it kind of sort of gives the shadow more strength because it increases the tension in that pole. Like if you get a rubber band and you stretch it, now there's more tension. But we could or we should and could be doing this thing where we rise. And as we rise, we get a greater perspective. We're able to see more of the shadow. We handle it and address it, and the bottom line rises too. So it becomes one of these rather than one of these, where there's all this tension now. We're increasing the bottom line as we rise. We're raising the roof and the ceiling. Or we can be. We could be. Two of Cups with the Seven of Wands at the bottom. That card keeps coming a lot. This to me, I feel like it emphasizes that making peace with that opposing energy. It's reducing the tension on that pole. And again, if we don't address it, it just increases the tension. It's like, and that's what leads to like a lot of revolutionary energies, isn't it? When the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, nothing is done to address anything, and then the poor uprise and overthrow the rich. And then maybe they establish themselves and they do it to somebody else. But it's time to break those cycles of repeating things like that, at the very least. Ooh, the Five of Cups with that Seven of Wands. Why do Five of Cups keep coming up so much? Maybe tomorrow I'll just look at the Five of Cups. I'll just be like, oh, but there's a 10 with the Seven of Wands. Hey, maybe I won. Sorry. Now the Ten of Cups is with that Seven of Wands. So I'm just like, why do Five of Cups keep coming out? What you gotta say? It almost feels like one of those. It was like Left Behind. That's what popped into my mind. And y'all remember, or did y'all ever see those like Left Behind movies where it's like the rapture happened in an instant and there's accidents and stuff because people were driving their cars and then were just like raptured out of their cars. And then it tells the story of, the people who were left on Earth in that 7-year period before the return of the King after the initial rapture. I'm just trying to get these shuffled up before I get the final messages. Who did? July. Okay. July was on the back of not the casket. Who that was? The clouds, the wreath, and the tiger. July is when Leo season starts. But again, this is a tiger instead of a lion. More powerful, but because of the increase in power, it causes more grace. And so what it does is, although it's more powerful, it doesn't disturb the balance too much because it doesn't engage in every situation, right? It's like if you paid $40 a month instead of paying $10 like 4 times a month. It's the same $40, but the tiger would do it all at once while the lion would continuously do it. I don't want to say it's because lion feels like it has something to prove, but tiger is just like, I don't, you know, tiger like, I don't need all that. I'm good. Oh, that's 3 cards. Okay. Well, this is where we're starting, I guess. So the spear is here. The spear says heartache over what you no longer have. That looks like one of the weapons of. It has a Hindu influence to me, but it should probably be Chinese, right? Because I mean, I hear tea leaf fortune, and I think Chinese. I guess it don't necessarily have to be. So the cat is here, a two-faced friend. The beetle is here, good fortune, and sunrise is here, new creative ideas, new ventures, and a fresh start. I don't think this two-faced friend is necessarily two-faced. I think this is a situation in which we weren't able to fully give or fully receive. And so it was a hot, cold, on, off, lukewarm energy. And so things were never able to come to a real point of culmination. The pot never really reached a boil. So the thing didn't really cook all the way through. Now, a little bit of this feels like a shadow energy, and it takes me all the way back to it's the shadow that's afraid of being left behind. And so what it does is it acts out. And through the space of the increased tension on that pole. But when we elevate the shadow and reduce that tension, then that's two horses in the chariot on the same page, and we get there a lot faster. And every now and then, it's like the shadow like you might get a little triggered, but it's like it's to continuously address those things instead of letting that tension increase and letting it build and build and build. Because when you address it, you can put it to rest. And I think that's the good fortune and the new ventures and fresh start that's coming. And this could all be within self. Doesn't necessarily have to be with someone else, but it may be more apparent if there is someone else or more observable to you. Bottom of the deck is the bat that says, take care, enemies are working against you. So maybe it is two-faced a friend. Maybe somebody is a little envious. I mean, the Eight of Wands did say, like, when you take flight, be mindful of those who will warn you against an impending great fall. Maybe it's because they can't fly themselves. Maybe not. That's what the cards see it. It reminds me of Defying Gravity, too, at the end of the song when um, Elphaba's like, what's she saying? Nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever going to bring me down. And then the townsfolk or whoever is like, look at her, she's wicked. No one mourns the wicked, so we're going to bring her down. And when I hear that, it's this energy of like, that's like, look at her. She is someone who it is acceptable to bring down or to belittle. So we're going to do it. No one mourns the wicked, so we're going to bring her down. It's like, now, you know, in The Wizard of Oz, we find out that the Wizard of Oz isn't necessarily a wizard. He's just a dude from Kansas or from America somewhere. I can't remember if he was also from Kansas or if he was from Chicago and it was like some Chicago World Fair type energy that had him in the hot air balloon that landed him in Oz somehow. But he wasn't even the wizard. And so they, again, I haven't seen Wicked, but she's like, I'm not going to prostrate myself in front of this dude to get something that I don't even want anymore, honestly. Because it requires me to do things that are not me and that are not of me. And funny how you would just be so quick to do it just to get done whatever you want to get done, but I'm not doing it. I'd rather try. And she did. And I mean, she got smashed by the house with Dorothy, but maybe the Wizard of Oz is an alternate timeline. Maybe they uncover the fraud of the wizard before that, and they're like, man, imagine if we would have did that to Elphaba, because this wizard dude told us to do it, so that he can maintain this illusion that he's got us all under. So we would continue to see him the same way that we're seeing him. This, I feel like it's starting to see something in a different way. Again, it's addressing it or seeing it. It's reducing the tension on that pole. And it may come out that certain choices and decisions have to be made. Maybe, and then maybe that's part of that loss that I was seeing in the beginning. Okay, this is a lot. These are a lot of end messages. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this. And it's like real or imagined just popped into my mind. Now, if it's real, it's real. If it's imagined, that's something within you that you are projecting onto someone else so that you can see it. Doesn't necessarily mean it rests within them. And if it in fact doesn't rest within them, now there are things, it's been made explicitly and abundantly clear that there are things within you that you need to address. You can't blame this one on somebody else. Fortunately for you, because if you could, then you probably wouldn't do whatever it is that you need to do. We leaving scapegoat energy behind. Because it's like 9 times out of 10, maybe it's the definition of a scapegoat, 9.5 times out of 10, the person that we're scapegoating onto like has very little control or almost nothing to do with it. But it's a way to vent some of that tension. It's like it doesn't, because the tension is still there, but it keeps the rope from snapping or the band from snapping, and it maintains whatever order there was. And then when things go south again, just find another scapegoat. Or you blame the same scapegoat again. And it's like, in what world does the scapegoat even have the capability to do what it is that you're insinuating that they're doing? A lot of people don't. Just looking for somebody to blame, I guess. That's what happens when we don't accept responsibility within ourselves for the things that we can. We are pretty quick to allow that, to accept that in others. The club. This is someone will try to make you do something against your will. Bottom of the deck is the wall. Misunderstanding. Interesting. So someone will try to make you do something against your will, but it's a misunderstanding. So again, that kind of reinforces what I was saying about how it's basically projecting. We're projecting something onto someone that's not necessarily there, but when we realize it, that when we realize that it's not there, hopefully we take it upon ourselves to address what we need to address that would cause us to see things in that way in the first place. And the cane. Oh, the club and the cane. The cane says, pay attention to your health. Bottom of the deck is the horseshoe. Good luck. That to me sounds like somebody might be a little healthier than they think they are, maybe. Or maybe you'll have a health scare. But the health scare are like, it's like the energy of like you go in for one thing, but you discover something else, and the something else you catch it early enough to prevent it. And maybe that also goes back to the other thing, right? It may not necessarily be what you think it is, but if you pay attention, it's highlighting and illuminating something that needs to be taken care of. And if you take care of it in time, it'll prevent much further disaster later. Ouch. Now let's see if I have messages from this. Hey, look, there's contemplation again at the cut. Contemplation at the cut with empowerment. See, going in with that calm mind actually leads us to find what it is that we're going to. But you do gotta, it's easier. The substances are not without risk. But there's a lot less personal work, I guess you gotta do. And then sometimes, they still try to have you do some things, but sometimes the quickest or shortest route aren't the most fulfilling. Sometimes. I wouldn't say oftentimes, because, the shortest way to do something is just to do it. Honestly, the shortest way to solve a problem is to solve the problem. Correcting the symptoms is actually the long way, but for us, sometimes when those symptoms are mental or emotional, it feels shorter to reduce the feelings rather than solve the problem. But if you solve the problem, you reduce the feelings and you have no problem. If you reduce the feelings, you still have the problem that leads to more feelings. And I guess it's a question of what practices we want to sustain. Or what do we want to free ourselves up for? Because the Eight of Wands talked about after we free ourselves, that's when we really take off fast and free. All right. I love that little bit when it's like, oh my gosh, the all mind that lies at the depths of this one. And again, it's like these passages and doorways that under a mind altering substance are in a outside of our conscious mind. It makes it more difficult to really maintain those connections. It's like, wait, how did I get there again? It's like, oh, it's like when people say that whatever state you're in when you study something, you should be in when you take the test. So if you were drunk when you were studying, if you're drunk when you take the test, then you'll do better or something like that. Now, maybe it wasn't just alcohol. Maybe that was college student mumbo jumbo. If you drink, you'll do better. But maybe there's some truth to it, because there is a thing about repetition in a set of circumstances around a certain situation that makes neurons line up in a way that they were aligned at the time that the information was discovered. And so that's why if you discover it on a substance, you'll probably have to be on one to rediscover it. If you dig the well in that calm mind, it'd be easier to find it without the need for that assistance. And again, there are many different reasons and purposes why people do a lot of things. Things are customary in some places, but the customs aren't necessarily, I don't know. Bottom of the deck, Utopia 43, and what came out is Majestic Eminence 27. Majestic Eminence is Priestess, Divine Feminine, and Worth. Utopia is Praise, Serenity, Peace, Serenity, and Paradise. Goodness. Under Utopia is Adventure number 1. 43 plus 1 is that 44. 44 was wisdom. Utopia and adventure is wisdom. That's the journey. Majestic Eminence, Priestess, Divine Feminine, and Worth is right here. It's almost like now it's giving me the energy, and I talked about it yesterday in the video that I'll link down below. Maybe if I say it enough, I'll actually remember to do it. That it's like there are certain. It's like that. Finding it within self is the feminine way of doing it. Because the feminine aspect is dark. It's the womb. And that lies in the dark. The masculine way of doing it is of using some invention or substance to assist what what could have been done naturally. Because masculine energy, it's the light, it's expressive, it's the world around us. Feminine energy is the world within us. And so we use something outside of us to get something inside of us. And it doesn't really maintain that connection. Now, if I guess we blended the two, use something outside of us to guide us to that which is within us, that then that which is within us takes over and leads us the rest of the way, I think that'd be all right, right? But again, it's like, pay attention to or note that outside thing, because I feel like the purely feminine route reconnects what is already there. But when we introduce masculine energy, we have to reintroduce that masculine energy every time. Take it as it resonates. Do or do not. It's your life. Ooh. I need to find a better way of drinking water because all these plastic bottles are not it. Maybe I'll get a little filter thing. I think I will. I'll get a little filter thing. It's like I've become so conscious about so much, but I haven't necessarily really done anything to change it because a part of me is like, oh, well, right now I don't have the excess income or the expendable income to get a filter, and the bottles are much more cheap for the moment. And it's like there'll be things, sometimes I'll throw something in the garbage and I'm like, man, this is not going to break down in a landfill. It happens. Okay, last but not least, now we come back here to my new friend. Ooh, the Five of Wands is with the Tower. What the Tower look like in this deck? Oh, that looked like Native American influence to me. Maybe not. It may be South American, or more like Aztec, Incan. I want to look it up. They're all Native. Well, Native South, Native North American, Native. Different tribes did things differently sometimes. Not all of them are the same. I am curious what that is, though. So let me look at the Tower real quick. There's the Hangman. There's the Sun. The Star. Right before the Star is the Tower. There it is. This one is. Oh, it's Indian. Agoras. The cremation ground ascetics of India. Okay. I was all the way wrong. I accept that. I'm uneducated. That's why I'm reading the book. I'm educating myself as I do these. This was I never intend for these to be that. I'm like, oh hey guys, this would be like a short 20-minute video. I'm gonna learn a little bit about the card that I pulled out. Maybe I'll just do like a card a day. Like limit it to one and then read the entry and go from there. I think that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. yet. They all spilled out. Okay. Oh, so I get to pick. I'll do this one. I'll pick two of them. In this one. No, not this. Under this. There. No. Okay. I don't know if these are upright or in reverse. Now the tower is in reverse. Oh no, that's the devil. So the devil is in reverse at the bottom of the deck. I love that energy. Also gonna turn the deck upright because I'm gonna leave this one all upright right now. And there's the Empress. I just split the deck to make sure it was still upright. The devil and the Empress. The devil is a 6. The Empress is 3. The two cards that I selected are Strength and the 3 of Cups in reverse. Which means I'm going to have to look through these to make sure that I don't have any cards in reverse. It may have just been the way I pulled that out, honestly. Yeah, they're all upright. Okay. Cards find a way to come out in reverse. So we saw the 3 of Cups yesterday, but I didn't read it. Here's the mask, by the way, because I keep mentioning the mask that she's holding when I see the Queen of Swords. You see that blue line up there? That's why it reminds me of the Queen of Swords. Okay. 3 of Cups in reverse is an energy of maybe a not great community, or it could be an energy of settling in a certain space because maybe a fear of rejection in a space, or we just like the company. We don't want to be left alone. And so we settle into spaces that maybe aren't for us. We'll see. 3 of Cups says, the gods have many faces and wear many masks. Oh. Some can be found in tragedy, others in comedy. To some, the somber chorus is. Hold up, I'm gonna have to adjust so I can actually see this thing. Oh, oh, there we go. Let in a little bit more light because the sun is shifting. There we go. So, I'll start from the beginning. The gods have many faces and wear many masks. Some can be found in tragedy, others in comedy. To some, the somber chorus a song. The somber chorus is sung, and to others, the ribald, the ribald satire and play is dedicated. I am the god who takes offerings of joy, whose worshippers dance with abandon in their devotional rites. There we go. Crushing the flowers and the grapes beneath their feet. I am the god who comes as bridegroom and reveler, who presides over the wedding rites and blesses the holy days. My name is spoken in celebration, and my image is dressed with garlands and wreaths of the finest blooms. Wreaths, there. See, here we see some wreaths of celebration. But it did mention comedy and tragedy. So, before me, the cups overflow with wine. The fields burgeon with flowers. The grapes ripen on the vine, and happiness increases with each passing day. But do not seek me in solace and solitude, for I know not the whispered prayers spoken in the heart or in secret. My hymns are in ecstasy with others, joined with others in a chorus of joy. For wine drunk alone is sorry. I cannot position this where I can just read the whole thing. I need more light. So why don't I turn on the light? I'm gonna turn on the light. See, this is what I was talking about. I could have just struggled through the rest of that, but this is easy. The little bit of time it cost me to get up and turn that light on, I'll probably save in reading through the rest of this in the next card. So, where was I? In secret, my hymns are in ecstasy with others, joined with others in a chorus of joy. For wine drunk alone is poor and bitter, but in company it is the sweetest taste to ever pass the lips. And then we'll move to strength. That's the star. Aquarius, we're looking for strength. Leo. Strength. There it is. Ooh, the Durga Puja. Okay. Oh, there's a tiger. There's a tiger on this strength card. Thank you. Thank you. Confirmation. This is going to be my new favorite strength card. It may be one of my only ones with. No, the Mystic Mondays has a tiger, a white tiger on strength. So, nothing against lions. I just like tigers. The Durga Puja. There are those that will tell you the world is love and beauty. There are fools. These are fools and liars. The world is a great battlefield, filled with struggle and the spilling of blood. This is the nourishment of the earth. Yet in this vast arena of conflict, you forget that the final battlefield is yourself. I am the bringer of victory over demons, the rider of lions, mistress of power, and the invincible warrior. Make offerings of flowers and blood to me, and I shall open my arms, bedecked with weaponry, to take you onto my bosom as my child. Dance not for me. Here's the dance, but the dance was in reverse. Should the dance be upright? Oh no. I guess we'll see. I guess strength is upright, so maybe the time for dancing is not, and the time for fighting is now. I can see that. Sorry. Dance not for me, but show me your battles. Give me your fighting and all your strength of will. Listen to my war cry, and you shall understand the light of the fires within that blaze. The light of the fires within that blaze higher at the sound of the clashing of swords. It is bloodlust, life lust, and a lust to overcome. This overcoming is the greatest mystery and the longest journey. It is the road that never ends. There is no highest, no completion, only greater challenges. I, power awakened, demand your knowing of your raw power, your embodiment of that dynamic force that creates the world, your acceptance of the warrior's austere road of self will and inner strength. Sing banner songs for me, and raise to me spears. Cry out my name in the midst of battle, and I shall cry out within you as the fire that burns in your soul. And the spear came out. And I said that the spear looked Hindu to me, right? But that it was probably Chinese. Well, she's holding a spear. That's a scythe on the other end? No, that's a sword that's a sword in a different hand. But she's also holding a lotus, girl. She got a lot of weapons. She got a lot of weapons. But she also holding this lotus. And she riding this tiger. And the cat came out too. Tiger's a big cat. Big cat do more damage. But still likes, a little cuddle sometimes. See, that tiger is ferocious, but to her it is welcoming. Sometimes there are two sides for a reason. The strength with the Three of Cups in reverse, to me, I guess it's giving me this. It's like the things that we have to do for ourselves alone. Community is great, community is fantastic, but at the end of the day, no one can do the work for us that we need to do for ourselves. No one can make the realizations for us that we need to make for ourselves. No one can incorporate them into our lives. We have to do it. Bottom of the deck, again, was the Devil card in reverse, with the Three of Cups in reverse. That to me is like an over reliance on the collective or on other people to do things. It disserves us. And it's not even the collective, because again, I was talking about like relying on crystals and herbs and music to heal the things that we need to face and address in our own personal lives. And as long as they remain unaddressed, the problems will continue to surface. That disconnection will still be there. And again, it's like sometimes some things reinforce those illusions of separation rather than actually giving us or leading us to where it is that we want to go. It has to be done. And you can find whatever means of avoiding it and running from it, but as long as it's unaddressed, the problems will remain. And just like I got up to turn on the light instead of just continuing to shift how I'm sitting on my bed and moving the book, it'd be a lot easier to just get up, turn on the light, and then be able to face it all. Read it all. Less struggle, less worry. So that's what I got. It was a long one today, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 30 minutes when I saw the time. And then there was 2 hours and 34 seconds right there. Um, but yeah, that's what I got. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make it even better. I hope you are facing and rising to all challenges that present you right now. For with the facing of those challenges comes an easier and brighter tomorrow. And we're not given anything that we can't bear or do. So if it stands before you, it is possible to be conquered. You know, may require some actual decision making and some actual facing because relying on a community or something outside of you to do it for you won't see it done. All right, I'll catch y'all probably tomorrow. Hopefully, I think I'll just do like one card from here on and maybe just read the whole entry instead of selecting. But we'll see. I don't know. I really like reading these.